From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swalwell to Silverlink. Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
It's Friday.
Friday then.
Friday.
Sunday. Anyway, no, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Is it actually Friday in Australia, or are you not in the Saturday?
It is. It's Friday night. But I just realised you guys have got daylight savings happening this weekend, which is going to push me even later.
Yeah.
Because it's currently 5 p.m. Australian, but then your clocks go back an hour. Is it Sunday morning for you guys?
It is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be a 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. morning show for me. So I'll be sitting here eating my dinner while you guys drink your coffee.
It's all right, mate. Will there be a tinny or two as well at the same time?
It will be. I mean, it's the radio, isn't it? I guess I can.
You can do anything.
Sit here in the nude, have a couple of tinnies.
It might calm you down.
The only thing that's going to calm me down, mate, is if Stoke City win on the weekend. That'll be the only thing. Then we'll talk gardening come Monday.
No, you don't realise what you've done. You've put a vision in my mind which is not nice. Rye sitting in the nude drinking a tinny, talking on the radio. No. Oh, quickly! Somebody says something that paints another picture. Quickly!
Whoa, lads!
No, you're gonna do us a favour. You're gonna sack Alex Neil.
Well, complete the job you guys couldn't do.
He gets the sack if he loses? I don't reckon he does. I reckon if any, I would like to talk about this, lads, but in the championship especially, if anyone's going to get the sack next, it's got to be Gareth Ainsworth at QPR, right? Oh my goodness me. They are woeful. Yet Gareth, the rock star, is still languishing there as their manager. I can't believe it. QPR, their trust in Gareth for the past 12 months or so. But also, Wayne Rooney, lads, hasn't he copping some stick? Oh my goodness.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
saw the footage.
I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so.
Yeah, well, you did. You did. And he's copping a stick from everywhere. And he's even got in today's, which we'll talk about later in the show, lads, but he's even copping it from his own players. His young under 21 defender has told him that some of the players can't play the way he wants him to, the way he wants them to. Interesting times.
I find that unacceptable from a player especially a professional. That's just not acceptable.
How do you?
Yeah, Cody Drammer. I apologise.
Coach wants you to.
Yeah. Cody Drammer has admitted to the reporters after the match that the players cannot play the way Wayne Rooney wants. So interesting times there down for Wayne Rooney. Then. Yeah. Well, lads, we've got a big show.
God, sorry, mate. I'm getting on a tangent.
We'll get into that. We'll get into it. We will get into it. Let's go through the topics. It is my show. It's Friday. You see what I did there? It's Friday. It's Friday. See what I did there? It's my topic.
Not first in
so
the
we're going to be
jingle,
talking about everything today. Oh, don't you worry. I've got a jingle coming for you. We're going to look ahead to this weekend's games. We've got Middlesbrough at home to Stoke. We've got Sunderland at home to Norwich, and we've got Newcastle away to Wolves. We've got Michael Carrick and Mogga press conferences to come. We have got some confirmation, but nothing out of the club yet, Steve, for about Tonali and what's happening down there as well. I'm not sure if it's confirmed yet or not, but we will talk about that just shortly. A Christmas Eve match as well this year, lads. A Christmas Eve match in the Premier League for the first time in 28 years. We're going to see Wolves host Chelsea on Christmas Eve. So get your stockings out early if you're a Chelsea or Wolves supporter. Obviously, Wayne Rooney and what's going on down there, as Dave alluded to, Wayne Rooney not having the best time. And Steve, what's going on? You're fining Borussia Dortmund buses now for parking on Grand Parade? Hey,
what happens when you park the bus, I'm afraid, right?
£50.
Nice, like that one. Like that one.
Fine for Borussia Dortmund for parking on Grand Parade. So big trouble there for Borussia Dortmund.
They get 50% off, mate. They get 50% off if they pay ahead of schedule.
There you go.
Do you know what the funniest thing about that is? The funniest thing about this, and that is the quote from the council after that, where they said, we're going to have a word with Eddie Howe and see if he can collect the fine for us when they play in the away leg. I thought that was fantastic. It is nice to see a council with a sense of humour. It really is. Because they don't exist that much. They don't exist that much.
I do love it. And to wrap up your Friday, lads, we're going to talk about the one, the only, as Steve admits, the best player in the world in Leo Messi, who is expected to win his 8th Ballon d'Or on Monday. He 8th Ballon d'Or. Does that take him above Cristiano Ronaldo? Whew, what a Friday show we got coming your way?
It sounds like you're on a high, mate. I don't know why. I don't know what's been
I
going
am on a high, mate. I'm going in for our 7th win this weekend, even with a broken down squad, as Michael Carrick confirmed yesterday in his presser.
8th.
Is it, well,
7th in the league. 7th in the league.
7th in the league, 8th in total. I'm sorry, I apologise. Yeah. It's hard when you win so much, Dave, to keep it track. You know what I mean? It's hard when when you're winning so much. It's just like, oh, it all becomes a bit of a blur. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like you're a winner all the time.
Balloon door's gonna pop, isn't it? Balloon door.
What?
Balloon door. That's what
honestly, it's balloon door.
Oh my God.
The Mackham one's the cultured one. Is that right?
No,
really?
It's balloon because it's overhyped. I'm telling you, that was going to be my topic.
So's Messi.
Oh, he's getting on early.
He's won 8 balloons, though. He's won 8 balloons.
You know I can't stand him.
He's not
Let's
far.
start off with some
He's not far
club
behind
headlines,
there.
though. Yeah, not wrong. You're not wrong. Let's start off with some club headlines. Let's get the Newcastle, Sunderland and Middlesbrough headlines.
Okay, we'll do this one first.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Well, as we come into the weekend, not a great deal of news, but the end of a story which has been running for the best part of 3 weeks now. Newcastle and Italy midfielder Sandro Tonali has been banned for 10 months by the Italian Football Federation for breaching betting rules. The 23-year-old will not be eligible to play again now until August and will be unavailable to feature at Euro 24 next summer should Italy qualify. Yesterday brought a load of fixture changes again for Newcastle. This is the belated confirmation of Premier League latest fixture list. It's butchery at the behest of live TV. That's the way I like to describe it. Newcastle's fixtures now that will be on TV are as follows. The 7th of December, Everton away, 7:30 on Prime. Sunday, the 10th of December, Tottenham away is now a 4:30 kickoff on Sky. Boxing Day, Nottingham Forest at home, 12:30 on Prime. And Monday, New Year's Day, Liverpool away, 8 o'clock on Sky. And as Rye has already mentioned, Borussia Dortmund may have beaten Newcastle on Wednesday night, but a North Tyneside traffic warden has carried out a very small act of revenge by issuing the team with a parking fine. The German club will need to use some of their prize money from their 1-0 win against the Magpies to shell out on the £50 PCN issued at Grand Parade in Tynemouth on Thursday afternoon. That will be reduced to £25 if paid within 14 days. That's the Newcastle United headlines this Friday morning.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
What's happening? Borough fans, I love you all so much. How are we all fans? Do you see how I did it in time to the music there? Oh, that was good, wasn't it? That's what you pay for. What's going on? Middlesbrough will be without Marcus Force for a number of weeks. Unfortunately, Michael Carrick has confirmed while they are still no closer to getting Darragh Lenihan and the boy Riley McGree as I hold back tears back. Typically coy on giving exact injury news, the Borough boss said that Force's thigh issue would keep him out for a little while, but said it was difficult to give an exact time frame on potential returns for Darragh Lenihan and the GOAT Riley McGree, who are out with Achilles and lower foot issues respectively. Borough are in a bit of an injury crisis at the moment, with 7 players missing Tuesday night's win over Norwich. Tommy Smith has now also been confirmed is set to miss the rest of the season with a ruptured Achilles. Hayden Hackney also picked up his 5th yellow of the season at Carrow Road, meaning he'll miss the weekend clash with Stoke, having earlier taken a whack to the knee in that one. Lucas Engel was also taken off in the game with a groin strain, but Carrick confirmed both players were actually fine. While Emmanuel Latte Lath has been back involved too after missing out through illness. Carrick told reporters in regards to Force, Riley and Lenihan, he said Marcus is going to be out for a number of weeks, unfortunately, with his thigh. Darragh and Riley won't be available for this weekend either, but there's not really a time scale for either of them. With Darragh, we're still going to do a bit of investigating and assessing. He's got a problem that is affecting his Achilles and his ankle. It seems to be related. And as for Riley, he's got one of those injuries where his foot is a little bit day by day and step by step. We're having to take it as it comes, so the time frame is not an easy to give on that one. And finally, Michael Carrick says coaching Middlesbrough's youthful squad this season has been a joy, with their desire to improve encapsulated by the extra work many are putting in together on the training pitches. The average age of Borough's squad deliberately dropped during the summer transfer window as the club added 12 new signings, many of whom are at similar stages of their careers with what would commonly be viewed as their prime years ahead of them. Middlesbrough will host Stoke at the Riverside this weekend, albeit with a few injuries, but full of confidence in this young squad to go and get their 7th league win in a row.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Morning Mackems, let's kick off some news with the player that Lionel Messi wishes he was. Patrick Roberts has provided fans with an update on his contract situation at Sunderland. Speaking to the Sunderland Echo, the winger confirmed that talks have begun over a new deal. The little wizard had this to say. Yeah, they have started. It was probably after the window closed. It's hopefully getting there, so we'll see on that. My aim was to get into the Championship and then get this club into the Premier League. I just want to do well for this club and give 100% every time I'm on the pitch. I love being here, I love the fans, I love the club, and can only do my best when I'm out there and show them fans why I came to this club and why they should have faith and believe in me as well as the other players who are here too. Bit of injury news, and Bradley Dack and Adil Aushish are expected to miss Saturday's visit of Norwich City, but Tony Mowbray is confident that both will be back in action before long. They're not bad injuries at all, Mowbray said. Bradley is fine, it's just that he needed to get up to speed, having missed 6 weeks or however long it was with a hamstring injury. Adil, the medical report tells me that it's 1 or 2 weeks, so that's not going to be a long problem. I think we'll have the same group to select from on Saturday. Excuse me. Finally, the Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen is conducting a food bank collection for Saturday's game against Norwich City. The collection will run from 1:30pm until kick-off at 3pm. All donations are welcome, especially non-perishable foods with long shelf life packaged in tins, packets and boxes. So that's your tin curry, your tin meatballs, spaghetti, beans, all that kind of thing. The collection area will be located on the corner of the car park opposite the Roker End Cafe. Over the past few years, the initiative has helped raise over £100,000 through the Roker Report appeal. That's outstanding, that. And your support will once again be vital to supporting those within the community who need it most. All donations are hugely appreciated. And that's your headlines.
Ted, Rye and Steve, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the cat and the tune.
I'd just like to pick up one thing. Tinned food, and you said tinned curry.
Yeah? Have you never had Thai curry?
Tinned curry. Is that just a Mackem thing?
Oh, I tell you what, Radio Dad's proper middle class, isn't he, lads? He's never been there. I bet you've never had a tinned curry.
Let's do it. Let's do a poll. Tinned curry, Steve?
Yeah, tin curry, especially when you're a bachelor and you're single and you haven't got an oven. I had when I was single, before I married the missus, I had a downstairs flat, and people used to laugh when they came in because it didn't have an oven. It had a microwave and a kettle and a toaster and a cheese toasty maker. Those are the essentials when you're a bachelor. You opened the cupboard, it had tin curry, it had tin chili con carne. Anything that you
tin chili con carne I've had, but tin curry.
Yeah, tin curry's lovely.
Right, okay.
And Heron Foods, there are other shops available. I used to go there and get those lovely kebabs that you could cook, microwavable kebabs, microwavable cheeseburgers, microwavable pizzas. And on a weekend I'd treat myself and go to the curry hut and get a proper curry, which you'd start on a Saturday night after you'd had 10 pints and finish on a Sunday morning for your breakfast.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Well, for me it was always Harry Chow's or it was Jamal's Indian. So sorry, haven't dabbled in tin curry. Right, tin curry, Australia.
No, I've had tinned curried potatoes.
I've had that.
About it.
Yeah, I've had
the tin curried potatoes, but I haven't had tin curry. No, can't say I have. But I'm also
the Waitrose life, you two.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here in shock.
I'm a Breezefields lad. I'm a council estate lad. How could I be middle class? Come on.
You've got your roots.
Well, you want to hear about Steve? Steve's talking about he didn't have an oven, and now he's got bunk beds in his house. I mean, what a he's gone from rich to riches, hasn't he?
He's taking things to another level.
Hey,
I am. The only way is up, lads.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Well, lads, we've got to get into it. We've got to talk about this weekend's games. We're going to have a look ahead, obviously, at Middlesbrough, home to Stoke, Sunderland home to Norwich, and Newcastle away to Wolves. We're not going to get the predictions, but we are going to break it down. We're also going to hear from Michael Carrick and Mogga. Obviously, a big game. Let's head on down to Sunderland. Sunderland are going to be the kickoff. I wanted to bring this up as well because I heard in the headlines about Patrick Roberts and his new deal. I wanted to talk to you about that, Ted, because a couple of months ago, wasn't Patrick Roberts expected to leave Sunderland on January transfer day? I mean, I apologise, the end of summer?
Yeah, absolutely right, Ryan. And to be honest, I mean, there was a few fans saying he looked a little bit out of sorts and not his usual self after that link with Southampton. I think it was in the region of 5 million they were looking at for him. For me, I'm delighted because getting Patrick Roberts tied down to a longer term deal here is fantastic for the club. I think he's pivotal in the way we play. Some of the stuff he does with the ball, people are saying that this season he hasn't got goals, he hasn't got assists. What he does do is drag defenders out of position like no other player on our team. You see, as soon as he gets the ball out on the right, there's 2 or 3 players surrounding him, and as much as on occasion, yes, he can wriggle through that. He creates space for other players to run into. I think it's a lot of the reason why Jack Clark's actually top of the goal scoring charts in the Championship at the minute is because all of that attention goes to, what is a magical player on his day, Patrick Roberts. There's no doubt about that. He's starting to realise a bit of that potential that he had when he was at Fulham, and why Man City paid so big money for him. But if he's tying down to a longer term deal and he's happy at Sunderland, and I love what he's got to say, about him wanting to be here and do his best and get the club into the Premier League. That's only a massive plus for Sunderland for me. That I was delighted when I read that.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, especially given only a couple of months ago. What a turnaround. Obviously, we were expecting him to leave on deadline day, but now it looks like he's, going to commit to the club, which is great for, Sunderland fans, because when he's on, isn't he? We obviously had Patrick Roberts in Middlesbrough, but it was just, I don't know. It depends, what type of Patrick Roberts you get, but he seems to have found good form under Sunderland. But heading down to Sunderland, obviously back at the Stadium of Light, you're inviting Norwich, a team all too familiar to the Borough fans. Obviously, Norwich's last loss was against Middlesbrough during midweek 2-1. And obviously, Black Cats a bit out of form themselves as well, having lost their last 3 now and dropped back down to 10th place. So there's, and you got the Canaries in 14th place, 2 points between them. You got Anthony Backhouse, the man in the middle, for your game on Saturday as well, Sunderland fans. And you'll most likely remember him from your days in League One. Because he hasn't had many championship games. This will be only his second time up in the championship. But he has managed Sunderland 6 times in the past, obviously, but they were all in the 3rd tier and only seeing Sunderland win 2 of those games. But he's not an Australian, so you're lucky there, all right? So you're going to get away with that one. But it is going to be an interesting game. Steve, I wanted to ask you, do you see Sunderland getting over their bad hoodoo of runs? I mean, they're both 2 teams now looking for a big win. Norwich losing to Middlesbrough midweek. Sunderland obviously coming off that loss to Leicester. But Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, are we going to see an improved Sunderland seat?
It's a strange one, this situation that Tony Mowbray finds himself in, because, I really do respect him as a manager and think he's perfect at championship level. And like I keep reiterating on here to both you guys, it's a marathon, not a sprint, the championship, and getting overconfident in October about promotion isn't wise, because anything can happen, and it goes in stages. Sunderland's owners have got to be brave, I think, here, and stick by Tony Mowbray. I always feel like that with any manager. I mean, we're talking about Wayne Rooney at the top of the show, 2 games in and already getting stick off the supporters. I mean, it's ludicrous. But from a Sunderland perspective, I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think Mogga clearly sees that there's issues with certain players and is trying to find a recipe for success. It's what Carrick was going through at the start of the season, and it's shown in the way that he's picking his team, Mowbray, at the moment. I mean, Ted was on about not playing a recognised striker, in a couple of games ago. Now he gets hit with other injuries. It's part and parcel of being a football manager. It's such a thankless task. You get paid well, but you don't get paid as well as the footballers. And honestly, it's just finding that run. A lot of it's about confidence. A lot of it's about finding that consistency level. I don't think it's doom and gloom at the moment. I thought midweek they would have got a result. They didn't. They've got to pick up a result this weekend, though. They need something out of this game. You need something to be able to clutch onto. I don't think the owners are thinking about making a managerial change yet. But if they have another month in November like they've had in October, then I think it could be squeaky bum time for Tony. But I think at the moment, I think he's earned the right to continue. But I think there could be a decision before Christmas if results start, if results don't pick up. I think that's the problem he's got. Looking at Mowbray's career, he does go through peaks, and when he goes through peaks and troughs, he goes on these almighty highs and then goes on an almighty low, and it really just depends who's in charge of the club. So yeah, I expect them to get something, and we'll be talking predictions later, as you said. But I expect them to get something this weekend. But he needs something. He needs a boost this weekend.
Well, unfortunately, Ted, it doesn't read true. Obviously, the Canaries' last trip to the Stadium of Light came in late August of last year, and it was a 76th minute goal to Josh Sargent that allowed Norwich to come away with a 1-0 win. Obviously, Josh Sargent is currently out for Norwich as well, so you won't be facing him. But from what I saw in the weekend, midweek against Middlesbrough, Sarr is a good threat there down at Norwich. They have got a good little squad. They've got obviously Benny Gibson, the ex-Borough and nephew of Steve Gibson in defence as well, and obviously might be coming up against your ex-player in Danny Bath. Do you think Danny's going to make an appearance for Norwich this weekend?
It's quite possible. What I liked about Tony Mowbray's presser, for all he was a little bit subdued, I know we're going to talk about that later, is the fact he's not really focused on Norwich, and it's kind of getting our house in order, which is what's most important. If Danny Bath does make an appearance, I think he'll get a great reception from the fans. He was a very, very solid player from us. The fact that we've conceded a couple of soft goals from set pieces lately, and you think, if Danny had been in the centre of that's possible that he probably would have prevented that happening. But he's not here. We move on, and if he does make an appearance, probably stick a fiver on and score from a corner. That's going to happen without a shadow of a doubt. But it's two teams that are out of form, and I think it's going to come down to the opening 20 minutes. We've talked about this before. Steve's mentioned before about, if there's no sort of a positive action or even a goal in the first 20 minutes, these stadiums can become very quiet and a little bit sort of unsettled. And I think we need to get off to a really, really good start. I do expect to see a change up front. I think he will go with a recognised striker. I honestly think Hamia will get his chance up front. I've just got a feeling about it that change is needed. For all he's playing it down in his press conferences, saying, I believe in the group of players and all that sort of thing. And, he come across very relaxed and not coming across like he's under a great deal of pressure. But he's not daft. He's not daft. As Steve said, if we're still talking about this in November, then, he's got to be kind of looking behind his shoulder and thinking, okay, I need to change something here. The daft thing is, though, you get a manager in, what's the first thing he's going to do? Say, right, in January, I want a recognised striker. So we're no further forward, really, if we do swap out Mogger. I would love to see him given the chance. I think they will come good. I'm not going to give, obviously, the prediction just yet, but... I think we'll have too much for Norwich. I think Norwich are kind of on a bit of a downward spiral. I mean, nothing's worse than getting beat off Middlesbrough. I know that.
Exactly. 4-0.
I think they'll be against 12 men. And we only had 10. But we can talk about that all day, can't we, Right?
He tends to live on these things.
Just go. Please give us a derby, please. No, we'll not. No. Your derby's against Billingham Synthonia. You just get on with it there.
Do you want to have a double at Mogger? Shall we have a quick listen to Mogger?
Let's have a listen.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, well, we will if it works.
I don't think we have to do anything specific. I think the team performance level's been pretty high. It'll turn round. We just keep doing the right things. Yeah, I don't sit here and think, we have to do this or we have to do that. I think chances come, chances go. They either end up in the net, they don't. It affects the game. We've lost the last two games really through defending set plays, which has been pretty positive for us over a long time now. I think we've been pretty good at that statistic. When I look at the league data, we've been pretty high on defending set plays, but it's cost us.
Yeah. It doesn't sound very upbeat, but it was evident that the chocolates were back. I had to do a bit of editing.
Tell.
I had to do a bit of editing, and I had to do a bit of editing as well. I had to do, get rid of all the bit
You
noises.
could hear the slobber, couldn't you? You could, yeah. He's a man
Do
of
you
many
do that with Rye on the
chocolates.
morning as well, Dave?
Yeah, I'm very clever. I can do it live. We have to, but that line coming from Australia, it's dodgy at the best of times.
I'm the one with the best audio because I'm the loudest. That's why I reckon. But it is. Do we know what chocolates he had? Was it what type of sweets? Does he change every?
I think it was. We're back to Revels.
Back to Revels. Are we?
We're back to Revels. Are we at the moment? Okay.
If you want to hear the
I'll
full press conference, go on to YouTube, the Sunderland AFC YouTube channel. You can get it in all its glory. But yeah, he was sounding a little bit subdued there, wasn't he? Was Mogger?
Yeah. He seems a bit worried about the future, doesn't he, old Mogger? And he's obviously saying that he's got the experience there, but he was saying that he's he thinks he's got still time, and he's not looking at the results as poorly as others, and knows that they can turn it around and stuff like that. But yeah, one to watch for me this weekend is Jack Clark. Obviously, Jack has been a bit hit and miss as of late. He had an absolute stellar start, made himself an integral part of Mogger's setup. He's now played 50 games as well, obviously scoring 11 goals, and this year up to another level with already obviously sitting on 8 goals in 13 appearances. So one to watch. Can Jack Clark bounce back this weekend? Are you thinking Jack's just in a little bit of dip of form, or has it just been because of the results and teams you've played, Ted?
I mean, he's still scoring goals, which that's not a bad habit to have, even if you're playing badly. I guess it's a very important attribute, to be honest, because without him would be pretty stuffed, to be honest. But there you go. It's a weird one, isn't it? I know there was a Q&A session with Christian Speakman and some of the backroom team during the week, and one of the fans asked him about Jack Clark's future. And it was a bit of a guarded answer that, if a bid came in for 20 million for Jack Clark, would he be sold? And basically the answer was that any bid would have to, be considered for the good of the club. Now, I'm starting to think that the reason that maybe Patrick Roberts has been getting offered a new deal is possibly to lessen the blow of Jack Clark being on his way. I don't want him to leave because he is a magic player for us. He really is. I don't think it'll beat to a championship club. I think if a Premier League comes calling with an offer in the region of 20 million, I think he'll be off. And maybe Jack's little sort of, I know what you mean about a downturn in form. He's not like his usual sort of electric self on the wing. He's getting a couple of goals, but his overall play, has dipped a little bit. Admittedly, I think this could be to do with a potential move in January. I don't want it to be that, but I've just got a hunch it is.
Well, there we go. We'll talk more. We'll get the lads' predictions in the next hour. We'll get the full breakdown. But there's a little bit of insight into Sunderland v Norwich this weekend at the Stadium of Light. We've got to get to the sports headlines at 7:30, but we will be back after that, and we're going to talk Newcastle v Wolves.
Is that my cue to press a button?
It is.
Amazing. I love it. Here we go.
You're trying to be professional and everything.
I know.
He was. I liked it.
He's doing his shopping on Waitrose online.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane. Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune and the cat.
Oh, sorry about that brief interlude of silence. And I've tried to strike a balance with the boys. I played a jingle without Ted's name in just to, give it some semblance of normality.
I know I'm off next week, but that's a bit personal.
Completely kicked out.
Oh God, we've got to let the listener into a bit of a secret there. I was completely thrown because there was absolutely no way in my mind were you guys going to go to the sport on time. Absolutely no way. Yesterday we had to bin the sport in this hour because you didn't even get to it, and you threw to it early while I'm editing Michael Carrick. Come on, guys, give me a chance. Give me a chance.
I apologise for
Stop
not giving
being
you more
professional
warning in the studio. We do apologise, and we'll give you plenty of warning coming up to the news, which is in 28 minutes, Dave. All right,
thanks.
Yeah.
I'll send that.
He wasn't doing any editing. He wasn't editing. What he was doing, he was putting his lunch together. It was foie gras, it was caviar, it was
tin curry.
Not a tinned curry in sight.
Right, that's it. You're not getting your jingle now, Ted. That's it. It's not going to be played for the rest of the show.
He set the secretary down. Yeah. Oh, God. So good. So good.
I love it.
Well, lads, we're going to look at Newcastle taking on Wolves in the Premier League this weekend. Newcastle looking to make it 6 Premier League games unbeaten on Saturday when they travel to the Molineux to take on a Wolves side who are also looking to extend their own undefeated streak, I apologise. Both Newcastle and Wolves have scored 15 of the 16 Premier League meetings between the sides, the exception coming in a 1-0 win for the Magpies in April 2002 when Chris Wood scored the winner. Obviously, Gary O'Neill in charge of Wolves here, going on a little bit of 4 runs without defeat. Gary O'Neill's Wolves now up to 12th in the league table. Latest outing seeing Kalajidzic net an 88th minute winner to score a 2-1 triumph at Bournemouth, obviously his prior club. Newcastle going into this game with a fair few injuries, Steve. We're a little bit worried. It looks like Isak and obviously Murphy's going to be out with that shoulder injury, starting to take a bit of a toll, and obviously the confirmation that Tonali has been banned for 10 months from football. Obviously, there's a lot more to come out and play on that. We will break down the Tonali ban just after 8 after the news. We only want to talk about Newcastle v Wolves, but obviously without no Tonali. But
cheers, Ryan. You basically read out all my notes, so we'll move on to the middle.
I'm sorry, Steve. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, are we anticipating a tough Wolves squad? Obviously, with a few injuries, are you anticipating Newcastle will still get one over our old Middlesbrough mate in Gary O'Neill?
It's a tough game because it's your next game. Premier League games are tough, and Wolves away is a hard game because of the results they've already had this season. In the last 3 Premier League games, they've beaten Man City at home. They've had an away win at Bournemouth 2-1 and a 1-1 draw with Aston Villa. So this is as tough as they come. It's definitely one of those runners and riders for a European slot this year, and it depends on what kind of team Eddie Howe can get out. Like you've already mentioned, the injuries are starting to mount up. We talked about it yesterday. Harvey Barnes, I think, is almost forgotten now. He's a long-term injury.
Yeah.
Sven Botman, of course, is still injured, going to be out for at least another 2 to 3 weeks. Alexander Isak is not long-term. It's only short-term, but it's a reoccurrence of an injury, which is worrying when an injury doesn't heal up properly and continues to bother the player. Jacob Murphy, although it looks like a popped shoulder, there's varieties of, lengths of time for that injury. So he's not going to play this weekend, but you'd like to think that it's not as serious. Elliot Anderson's got a back injury, which seems to have come on over the last couple of weeks and potentially could keep him out for a month. And Tonali is banned for 10 months now, which I think came as a shock to most Newcastle United fans, because I think a lot of us were thinking with him cooperating with the hearing that he would probably get 10 to 12 months and then receive a 50% reduction, which of course isn't the case. It's 10 months straight. The only positive to come out of that is that he's still allowed to train with the team, which of course Ivan Toney wasn't allowed to do. So I guess from our perspective, he's still allowed to come in and earn his wages and do his job. He just won't be available to play until next August, which is frustrating because Newcastle have been punished for something which ultimately wasn't their fault. So yeah, I am disappointed about that. The one bright sign on the horizon, of course, was the re-emergence of Joe Willock, which counteracts Tonali going out, Willock coming in, and of course Willock was such a pivotal player in the midfield last season. He gives you a different dimension. He's certainly more exciting than Tonali. Tonali tends to kill play and stop stop other teams' attacks and breaks down play. Willock is certainly somebody who can do that, but also who can push on and give defenders something to think about. So having Willock back in is a really bright spot. But of course Eddie Howe will be looking at him and saying, we don't really want to push him too hard. He's not coming back from one injury, he's coming back from 2, because originally it was the hamstring injury which had him sitting on the sidelines. He was rehabilitating, he was coming back, he was training again on grass, and then he got an Achilles injury which kept him out for a further 3 or 4 weeks. So it's treating him with kid gloves, I think. Bruno is 1 yellow card away from serving a 1-match ban. That's got to come into Eddie Howe's thinking this weekend.
Yeah.
Because I guess although Eddie Howe does go one game at a time, and he'd be looking at the Wolves as the game. He won't be looking ahead to Arsenal. Newcastle fans and journalists alike are already looking ahead to Arsenal and going, we don't want to be missing Bruno for Arsenal at home. If Bruno gets booked against Wolves, he's going to miss that game. So, he's got that to think about. We're lucky because midfield is where we've got a multitude of players, and despite the fact we've now got no Tonali and we haven't got Harvey Barnes, we're pretty much in the same position as we were prior to Tonali getting the ban. We've got Willock coming back in now, so we're midfield isn't an issue. The back four at the moment isn't an issue. Matt Targett, I thought, because he hasn't played a great deal of football, I think there's always a bit of a concern about a player coming on. Matt Targett didn't look out of place against Borussia Dortmund. He could come in and do a job. The back four's playing well. Nick Pope is playing well. We've got a good solid midfield. The only concern for me is up front. Again, it's that phrase, treating a player with kid gloves. You're looking at Callum Wilson and hoping that he can come through this next set of fixtures. We know that he has problems with injuries. And like I mentioned yesterday, Wolves on Saturday, Manchester United on Wednesday, Arsenal at home on the following Saturday, Borussia Dortmund away on the Tuesday, and Bournemouth away on the Saturday. If you're telling me that Callum Wilson now has to play all of those games, and Isak's not going to be back for any of them, I'd be really concerned. Would need a really big chunk of luck for Wilson to come through every single game unscathed. So it's going to be interesting. We know at the start of the season he did suggest that when he was asked, are we going to sign a striker in the summer? He said no, because we have Callum, we've got Alexander, and we've got Anthony. So he clearly, after the European England performances from Gordon in the summer, sees Gordon as a potential front runner for playing up front. I've got to be honest, if the chips were down and we needed somebody to go into that role, Willock can do it. He went on a wonderful run when he first came to Newcastle, seven goals in 7 games. I think Willock could play that role if we were desperate. There are other players who could play up there. Joe Linton, not pretty. Harking back to who were mentioned yesterday, Mick Harford and Billy Whitehurst and George Riley. There's 3 names from the past. But those, he's that kind of player up front. He holds the ball up, he gets stuck in, but it's not pretty watching Joe Linton. But if we had to play him up front, we know we could do that. So there's lots of options, but it's a tough game, and to get every game's a tough game when you've lost a game and you're trying to regain your confidence, retain your momentum. But I would have preferred a home game this weekend. I've got to be perfectly honest. I would have preferred a home game against a team maybe at the bottom, but we haven't got it. You can't pick and choose. So we've got Wolves away. I will be very happy if Newcastle can go down there and come back with a point. I've got to be perfectly honest. I'd love to think we could go down there, hold our own, and come back with a point. Because when you look at the fact that they've beaten Man City, they've drawn with Aston Villa in recent weeks, gone away to Bournemouth, which isn't easy, and come away with maximum points. We know we're in for a tough game this weekend, and their injury list isn't as bad as ours. They've got pretty much a full squad.
They do
pick from this weekend. I think Hugo Bueno is missing. I think he's got an injury, but Lamina and Semedo are both going to be available. They've both been suspended in the last couple of games. So look, they're pretty much full pelt. So it'll be a big game. Looking forward to it as always. Eddie Howe, I'm sure, will find a way to get the lads, focused, back on their toes, and looking forward to Eddie's press conference again this morning.
Ted, over to you. We want to ask you: do you feel that there's going to be another Champions League hangover, or obviously with the growing injury list at Newcastle as well, will that hamper their chances of response at Molineux?
I think it's one of those situations where it's going to come to the front where where Newcastle are in terms of squad depth, what they need. I think it's a good indicator of where they are at this point in time and of where they want to be. They want to be a regular Champions League club, not just sort of I'm sure for the fans it's lovely to be there after so long out of it and that kind of thing. But if they're serious about being this sort of challenger for the Premier League and getting into the regular top 4, then these are the situations where it's going to become the norm, and they're going to have to deal with it, and they're going to have to pick up points regardless of what the squad situation is, I guess. Like Steve mentioned there, players like Joe Linton, I agree, probably wouldn't be pretty up front, but he's going to have to step up. For me, I wouldn't be tempted to play Anthony Gordon as a striker. I think he can create more and do more damage on the wings, and like sort of dragging players out of position, that kind of thing. I think that's where his fore is. But yeah, one or two players, it's unfortunate for them at this moment in time with what is it, like 8 players that they've got out at this moment in time who you would argue a first team at least, if not like sort of a starting 11. Yeah, it's very unfortunate for them, but they need to go to Wolves, and if they are serious about being the club that they intend to be, they need to drag results out of these games. We'll not go into it just yet. I think they've got enough in their pack to cause problems for Wolves, but bear in mind they're not a pushover either. I think the kind of Wolves have been largely ignored by the media, and they go about doing some decent work. They're a good, solid mid-table side. They pick up results. They graft hard, and it's not going to be a one for the purist. I don't think there's going to be sort of a expansive football played by both sides by any means. It might be a bit of a sort of not a dull affair, but yeah, a tough game, a bit of a gritty one, and Newcastle have just got to graft away and do this more often, I guess.
Steve, you mentioned there, you said you'd be happy if you pulled a point back. Would there be any concern if you lost that, because it would be two successive defeats, or is that complete nonsense?
No, I think you make a valid point, because the fixture list isn't isn't looking too good then after that. You've got Arsenal at home then, which at this moment in time is a Newcastle United rival. Newcastle are competing at the top end of the table, and we're not looking over our shoulder anymore. So I would say yes, if we lose, it's not a crisis. It just puts extra pressure on a home game. We're looking into a crystal ball here, but say Bruno gets booked in the game against Wolves, and then is missing for Arsenal. He just gets added to the list of walking wounded. You're scratching your head. But that's why it's so important to get something out of this game this weekend. A point from Wolves isn't a disaster. It's not what you'd want. Ideally, for a Champions League challenge, you need to go to somewhere like Wolves and win. Like Ted says, you need to find a way. If you're serious about your Champions League credentials and being the top team, these are the games you've got to go and win. But Newcastle built their success last season on good home form and not getting beat away from home. So I genuinely think that it would be a blow. Eddie Howe wouldn't be happy, but they then have a week to plot things, for the next Premier League game, obviously. But I do think it would be. You'll be looking at it and saying, "Oh no, has the rot set in? Is this another blip? Is this like what we had at the start of the season?" He would probably have to look at the Manchester United game then and say, "Well, how desperately do we want to be in the League Cup? Do we really want to carry on in the Carabao Cup? He's going to then have to make a decision. What's our priority? Is it the league? Is it the Carabao Cup? Is it the Champions League? That's the kind of decision. He'll say he wants to challenge on all fronts, but if you're losing players, I guess he's going to have to make a decision. He would have to put out some younger players in the game against Manchester United. But yeah, I think there would be slight concern if we get beaten against Wolves. It's got potential to be a Brighton, because we went down to Brighton, we didn't compete, we came away, we lost 3-1. Could have been worse, really. We didn't deserve anything that day, and I think Eddie Howe will have one mind on that. I wouldn't be surprised if he went down to Wolves and played more cautiously and parked the bus.
Is it fair to say there's concern though? Is it fair to say there's a concern there when, we've seen Newcastle crush Crystal Palace 4-0, and just recently as well, the 8-0 destruction of Sheffield United? I feel like every game's not going to go like that, but is it fair that, suddenly there's a run of injuries, if Newcastle can't get anything from Wolves? Is it just that those two games were so demolishing of Crystal Palace and Sheffield Wednesday that we're expecting too much of Newcastle? Is it unfair to then put, to say, oh no, what's happening at Newcastle if they can't get anything from Wolves?
It's too soon to go like that. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's about you're taking each game at a time. Everybody knows Newcastle's not been in the Champions League for 20 odd years, so it's the Champions League really is an exciting journey. That's the way you've got to take it. I think the priority is the league. I keep getting asked this question on NUFC Matters by people who people in the chat on a night time. What's the most important game this week, Dortmund or Wolves? And I'll always say Wolves, because that's your bread and butter. Newcastle want to finish in the top 4. Newcastle need to be in the Champions League next season if they're going to continue in the same vein. People go, well, I agree, both games are important, but if you want to have the club growing and getting to where the owners want it to be, then the league game is the most important game. And for me, getting 3 points at Wolves is more important than beating Dortmund. That'll come moving forward, but we have to continue to qualify for the Champions League season in, season out if we're going to be a big club. So yeah, I think it comes down to your priorities, and I think although Eddie Howe won't say at his press conference what his priority is, he won't say I am prioritising this, I am prioritising that. He will just say we want to win every game. But in the back of his mind, he must be looking at the Man United game next week and thinking, I'm going to have to rest a few players here because we've got a big game coming up at the weekend. So it's unfortunate as well the way the fixture list went. I mean, really, it's ludicrous to think that Newcastle have got an away game after a Champions League game. Going to Dortmund and then having to go to Bournemouth is crazy. But these things are sent to test you. You've just got to crack on with it and I hope you get the results.
Question for you, Steve. Just taking the league out of the equation for a second, what would you rather? Would you rather win the League Cup or would you rather get through the group stages of the Champions League?
Me personally, I would rather win the League Cup because it's a trophy, because we haven't won anything since '69, and obviously we haven't won a domestic trophy since '55. So, I genuinely feel that winning a trophy would be the big thing for Newcastle. It would be the team would be remembered forever. And yeah, if it was the League Cup, it's the League Cup. It's how Man City started under their owners that they've got now. You've got to look at it and think, that has to be the priority. So yeah, Champions League, take it for what it is. Enjoy the ride. Success in the Champions League this season. How does that look? Well, it looks, for me, it's getting into the knockout stages. That is success. Yeah. Anything else is a bonus. Winning the Carabao Cup. Let's face it, if Newcastle beat Manchester United away on Wednesday, Newcastle would deserve to at least get to the final because they're just not Man City and Man United out. But I personally would like to see Newcastle win a trophy. Do I think it's going to happen this year? I said I did think it would happen this year. I did think we would have a good chance of getting to the Carabao Cup final and winning it this year. It now depends on what squad he puts out, what team he puts out on Wednesday, and how we cope with this week's fixtures. Pivotal week this, because you've got 3 big games: Wolves away, Man United in the Carabao Cup, and then another tough game against Arsenal at home. Big week, probably the biggest week of the season so far. In essence, we find out what Newcastle United's team and squad's made of this week, find out what Eddie Howe's made of. By the end of next week end, we could be waxing lyrical Newcastle fans about, wow, this is a team that can go places and do something. Or by next Sunday, could be crying into a brown ale. So it's going to be interesting. It's an interesting week for us. But I'd much rather have this than fighting relegation in the Premier League. Believe you me. It's why I don't get too down and disappointed when Newcastle get beaten, because there were worse days than this. As Absolutely. You guys know, being in the Championship, it's such a hard division to play in and be involved in, and for me, as a North East football fan, you've just got to be happy when you're in the Premier League and you're not struggling. Just be happy, lads.
Yep.
Well, we're 8 minutes out from the news, Dave. That's a big warning for you.
Thanks,
there.
Mate. Appreciate
it. We did see. We'll wrap it up. Obviously, just before the news, I'm talking Newcastle as well, because we have seen Italy's Football Federation confirming that Sandro Tonali has been banned for 10 months for breaking the country's gambling regulations. Obviously, we heard from Steve there earlier that he is allowed to train with the club, unlike Ivan Toney, but he'll still be allowed there. But part of his ban in the latter period, or the final portion of it, will be committing to alternative therapies. So he'll have to go undergo gambling rehabilitation, if you will, learning about the dangers of betting, and obviously also has to visit addiction clinics. So it does look like obviously Tonali is out now, Steve. Obviously, we saw in July Eddie Howe just being delighted and surprised how much that they had been able to even get Tonali for 55 mil, and now he has to cope with his marquee summer signing until August of next year. 10 months, has it come of a bit of a shock, Steve, that it was 10 months? You said earlier that obviously you were expecting a little bit less.
I think it's just the fact that it's 10 months flat. No time off for good behaviour, no time off for cooperating. I think it was factored in, Steve, because they were talking about. I was reading yesterday in a quality newspaper. The Italian authorities were going for a multi-year ban. So I think it did play out in the wash. I think, they did come out and say he's cooperated 100%, couldn't have cooperated more. And, we've taken on the comments that were raised about his addiction. So therefore, we've come to this agreement with his lawyers that it will be 10 months. So I think they were going for a couple of years. And then all those factors were added in, with his cooperation, with the addiction side. And that resulted in 10 months. So I think it was factored in, but it must have been a hell of a ban they were looking for to start with. Yeah, I mean, obviously, they were talking potentially 5 years, 3 years. He's got off lightly in that respect. I mean, the thing that just feels so unfair is that it was done when he was a player at another two clubs. It wasn't done when he was a player at Newcastle. So it feels like Newcastle are being unduly punished for something that they didn't do. People can say, well, you should check, you should do due diligence, and you should check on these things behind the scenes before you sign a player. But that kind of addiction is not something that is usually obvious, put it that way. And it's just unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation that we'll find ourselves in, but I suppose that when you explain it like that and say that that was a situation, I hadn't read that, then Newcastle probably will be happy that it isn't as severe, and at least he can train. At least he can train with the first team, which is something. He can come in, he can do his job day to day. He's just not available. Eddie Howe and the team will just have to treat it as if it was a long-term injury. But it means that he'll be able to play a part on the sidelines, and ultimately learn a bit more about English football, to be able to perfect his English, and there's lots of things he'll be able to do. And I'm sure that the way that Newcastle United are run nowadays, that they will make sure that his time is spent well. So that in itself might help him integrate into the area, integrate into society a bit more locally, learn the language, and it's not a blessing in disguise, but at least it's not all doom and gloom. But it's a big miss, because, as you say, it was our big signing of the summer, and he can't play. So that in itself is disappointing.
But it does bring on the next question, doesn't it? And it was raised in. It's a great article, actually. I did share it with you guys this morning. That's out there. It raises the question about what will the club do now, because it is suggesting the club are looking at taking legal action. It does suggest that there are clauses in standard player transfer contracts to say that the selling club has the onus to disclose any possible problems. So that's what's being suggested could be happening right now, that the lawyers for Newcastle United are pawing over that transfer agreement, and maybe looking to reclaim some sort of costs, because by the looks of it, they're going to have to pay this guy, because he's coming in for training. Therefore, he's an employee and he's doing his work. It just so happens he can't play football. So, are they going to still have to fork out that salary? I'm sure they are.
It's crazy. It's crazy how poorly Newcastle, unfortunately, have come out in this situation. At least with the Ivan Toney situation, it was taken off Brentford that he couldn't play, so he couldn't get paid, couldn't train with them. But yeah, Tonali's been left a Newcastle play because it's been handled by the Italian authorities. And this all happened, like Steve keeps reiterating, at AC Milan. Ted, do you think it's fair that AC Milan get away with scot-free? Do you think Newcastle have got a legal case here if it was to be pursued against AC Milan?
Taking my red and white glasses off for a second and looking at this objectively, I'd be absolutely furious if I was Newcastle United. There's always been this dodgy underbelly of Italian football. Juventus got relegated and points deducted for sort of match fixing and all this sort of thing. This seems to just reoccur within the Italian league, and it's the Italian league more than any other that gets mentioned with this sort of thing, where illegal gambling, whatever you want to call it, match fixing, all that sort of thing. It just seems to rear its head. And in AC Milan, for me, yes, they do need to be held accountable. I think, when you talk about like the anatomy of a transfer, obviously, one of the biggest parts of a transfer is the medical, checking the physical status of that player. And I think more and more so now there will be a sort of a mental capacity brought into that transfer as well. What is their mental health like as well as their physical health? And whether you bring psychologists in to talk to them. And I think, things we have to be done much more above board, because essentially, you've got a £55 million investment, I think it is, that you're not able to use for 10 months on account of another team not being straightforward with you. It's absolutely horrendous. It damages the Premier League as well. You're talking about the greatest league in the world. We want to see the best players available playing their trade. It doesn't matter whether it's a Newcastle player or not, whether it's Liverpool, Man City, whoever. You want the best players available on that pitch. And through, not negligence on Newcastle's part, I don't think it even comes into that, but through like sort of almost underhand shady dealing from AC Milan, the plans of the Premier League have been kind of deducted a great player to watch. But it's a tough one, because for me, I mean, I know we've done the jokes and all that sort of thing about I bet he didn't see that coming, all that sort of thing. The real concern here now is I think there needs to be more educating done. I think the Premier League is absolutely fine about it. They do quite a lot with players in terms of educating them from a young age, but it needs sorting, and this guy needs help. He absolutely does. And the biggest thing for me, and I said in the WhatsApp group, from a human perspective, I'm glad that he's getting this 8 months of help with the gambling addiction, because that's what it is. It's an addiction. The guy is unwell. Let's make no bones about it. It also opens up the discussion, which I'm sure we'll have another day, about I think the whole advertising of betting and gambling needs to come out of football. Yeah, it's ruining people's lives.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. 100%. I mean, I know that ultimately there was a lot of talk about, a lot of talk about this at the press conference last week. But I agree wholeheartedly. It's exactly the same as payday loan deal. Companies getting involved in football. I thought that was a disgrace. And I said so when our club got involved in that under the previous owner. So yeah, for me, lads, 100% agree. It should be taken out of football.
There is one.
All right, lads. We've got to get to the news.
Just to finish the story, there is one other twist. Of course, he could still be eligible to play this weekend, because that ban from Italy has to go to FIFA, and FIFA have to then ratify it to become a worldwide ban. That hasn't happened yet. Now, it could happen today. It could happen as quickly as today. But if it isn't, FIFA won't get onto it until Monday. So there is still a window there for him to play this weekend.
Oh, okay, interesting there. We haven't seen a statement either, have we, from Newcastle directly either? So,
it'll come. I mean, obviously Eddie Howe's got his press conference today. Yeah, you would imagine that there's going to be some kind of mention of that from either him or the guy, Lee Marshall, who's the press officer there. But it'll be interesting. He'll want to avoid it. He'll want to talk football, but I'm sure there will be some kind of situation, or some kind of press statement put out at some point.
Well, as we head to the news, Ted, this one's for you. I just wanted to let you know about some breaking news that on the Tonali situation. I have got it on good authority that they did offer him a 6-month ban, or he could play for Sunderland, and he said, "Nah, stuff that. Give me 10 months."
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
And
Is it time for the news?
And on that note, we'll get into the news. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
You know you drive me up a wall, the way you make good for all the nasty tricks you pull. Seems like we're making up more than we're making love.
You know what? It's a great song, but I'm cutting it short because I know I'm gonna have the Sunderland fan going on strike if I don't play Brian Ferry at some point.
To be fair, I was air drumming along to that one. I absolutely love that song.
And I cut it off for you just because you wanted Brian Ferry.
It's fine. It's fine. Did you know I was a frustrated rock star? Did you know about my checkered past with this sort of thing?
No.
No.
Tell us more.
I used to be the lead singer in a Foo Fighters tribute band. There you go.
No
lead
way.
singer. We've got a challenger. We've got a real challenger for Rye's singing jingles.
Wow.
Oh,
Ted
yes.
Grohl is in the building. I can't believe it.
Have we got that
Gross
jetpack so he
small,
can leave the building? We need that jetpack he can strap on his back like Michael Jackson used to leave stadiums. Fly out.
Honestly, I can see us doing a Christmas #1 between the three of us here. Like,
I want a Fooey song now. Yeah, easy. Easy, definitely.
If I Love Sausage Rolls can get to Christmas #1, we can do something, fellas.
Absolutely. I actually wrote a Christmas song. There you go. I know this is going off topic, but I rewrote the words for School's Out for Summer as Sacks Out for Santa, and I actually have that on MP3.
Yes, that's the type of genius that we'll be going down. Exactly. Sacks
We
out
should
for
do it.
Santa.
That's a challenge. That's the
100%.
I'll share it on the WhatsApp. See what you think.
Yeah, and we'll. Do you mind if we? I was going to say a word there that would probably get me sacked on the radio. Do you mind if we change the lyrics a little bit, mate, to suit the breakfast show? Can we do it? Go on.
Possibly. I'm sure we can not plagiarise because that's a bad word, and already Dave's lawyers are kind of crying into their papers, which is probably the Daily Mail or some sort of broadsheet.
There we go. First I'm radio dad, then I'm middle class.
Dave's choking on his pate.
The breakfast Christmas radio song Tin Curries coming soon, trust me.
Right, we're doing it. I'm going to start writing the lyrics this weekend.
Absolutely brilliant.
Tin Curries for Christmas.
And we'll record it. We'll do it. Let's do it.
Let's definitely do it. I'm excited.
Steve's gone very quiet at this moment in time.
I'm a dark horse, lads.
Steve can
I'm the actor, remember? I'm the actor. I can sing, lads.
Steve can come out. Steve can come out, I betcha.
He's going to play his equity card, isn't he? Steve's going to play his equity card and get his agent onto us. He needs a fee. He needs a fee to perform.
I'm last on the jingles, lads, so I need to be first on the record. I need to be... It needs to be like Band-Aid.
Yeah, Paul Young.
It needs to be like Band-Aid.
He needs that Paul Young roll, opening up Band-Aid. Yeah, that's it.
Steve was quiet because he was writing out his rider.
Listen to it. That is beautiful. Oh, we're going #1, lads. We're going #1.
Listen
my goodness. I know, right?
Hey, we've got the radio stations to play it as well, so we can give it airtime, fellas. Let's do it.
We're going #1.
Let's get the Northeast Footy Breakfast.
Creative juice will flow this weekend.
Get them flowing, fellas. Forget about football.
Let's go.
Just get writing, get creating. Hey, some good news, by the way, for those listening to us on the Red. Our DAB transmitter gets switched on today, so get in. Woo. Get in. Teesside gets us on normal radio as of today. Probably by about 5 o'clock tonight, it'll be...
Good morning to Pyjama Town, yes.
I've just been picturing like Dave like up these posts and up these poles, like dangling on bits of rope. Like
hanging from
a hard
harness.
hat on. This is the kind of impression it paints for us listeners.
Oh, go on. Ted will be
John
going
Noakes.
Yeah,
Ted will be
like
coming
John
out.
Noakes on Blue Peter.
Forget the pictures of ropes and hard hats. Ted's now going to come out with cherry pickers for Dave or something like that.
Well, you know, I believe they're called an iPath, but they... But there you go.
Give us some news headlines, for God's sake.
Let's get into it.
Which one do you want?
Let's go the Smoggies.
Okay.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
Good morning, Borough fans. Happy Friday. I hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. We are having a big old party this weekend as Stoke come down to the Riverside. Here are your Middlesbrough headlines for this morning. Middlesbrough will be without Marcus Force for a number of weeks. Michael Carrick has confirmed while they are still no closer to getting Darragh Lenihan or Riley McGree back. Typically coy on giving exact injury news, the Borough boss said Forster's thigh issue would keep him out for a little while, but said it was difficult to give an exact time frame on the potential returns for Darragh Lenihan and Riley McGree, as I cry, who is out with an Achilles and lower foot issue respectively. Borough are in a bit of an injury crisis currently, with 7 players missing Tuesday night's win over Norwich City. Tommy Smith now has also been confirmed is set to miss the rest of the season with a ruptured Achilles. Hayden Hackney also picked up his 5th yellow of the season at Carrow Road, meaning he'll miss this weekend's clash with Stoke, having earlier taken a whack to the knee in that one. Lucas Engel was also taken off in the game with a groin strain, but Carrick confirmed both Hackney and Engel are okay, while Emmanuel Latte-Lath has been back involved as well after missing out through illness. Carrick told reporters in regards to Forst, Riley and Lenihan that Marcus is going to be out for a number of weeks, unfortunately, with his thigh. Darragh and Riley won't be available for this weekend either, and there's not really a timescale for either of them. With Darragh, we're still doing a bit of investigating and assessing. He's got a problem that is affecting his Achilles and his ankle. It seems to be related. And Riley's got one of those injuries to his foot, where it's a little bit day by day and step by step. We're having to take it as it comes, so the time frame is not easy to give on that one. And finally, Michael Carrick says coaching Middlesbrough's youthful squad this season has been a joy, with their desire to improve encapsulated by the extra work many of them are putting together on the training pitches. The average age of Borough's squad has deliberately dropped during the summer transfer window as the club added 12 new signings, many of whom are at similar stages of their career and who would commonly be viewed as their prime years are still to come. Middlesbrough hosts Stoke City at the Riverside this weekend, albeit with a few injuries, but full of confidence in this young squad to get their 7th league win in a row. That is your Middlesbrough headlines.
Magpies and proud. Mags News.
Newcastle and Italy midfielder Sandro Tonali has been banned for 10 months by the Italian Football Federation for breaching betting rules. The 23-year-old will not be eligible to play again until August and will be unavailable to feature at Euro 2024 next summer should Italy qualify. Thursday brought belated confirmation of the Premier League's latest fixture list butchery at the behest of live TV transmission in the UK. The Magpies will take on Everton away on the 7th of December, 7:30 on Prime. Sunday the 10th of December, Tottenham away, 4:30 on Sky. Boxing Day is a Tuesday this year and we take on Notts Forest at home, 12:30 kick-off on Prime. And New Year's Day, Liverpool away, 8 o'clock on Sky. And Borussia Dortmund may have beaten Newcastle on Wednesday night, but a North Tyneside traffic warden has carried out an act of revenge by issuing the team bus with a parking fine. The German club will need to use some of their prize money from their 1-0 win against the Magpies to shell out on the £50 PCN issued at Grand Parade in Tynemouth on Thursday afternoon. But it will be reduced to £25 if they pay it within 14 days. That's your Newcastle headlines this Friday morning.
Mackems and proud. Black Cats News.
Happy Friday, Sunderland fans. Howie, some good news to start off with. Patrick Roberts has provided fans with an update on his contract situation at Sunderland. Speaking to the Sunderland Echo, the winger confirmed that talks have begun over a new deal. The little wizard had this to say: "Yeah, they have started. It was probably after the window closed. It's hopefully getting there, so we'll see on that. My aim was to first get into the Championship and then get this club into the Premier League. I just want to do well for this club and give 100% every time I'm on the pitch. I love being here, I love the fans, I love the club, and can only do my best while I'm out there and show them fans why I came to this club and why they should have faith in me and believe in me, as well as the other players who are here too." Some injury news. Bradley Dack and Adil Aushish are expected to miss this Saturday's visit of Norwich City, but Tony Mowbray is confident that both will be back in action before long. They're not bad injuries at all, Mowbray said. Bradley is fine, it's just that he needed to get up to speed, having missed 6 weeks or however long it was with a hamstring injury. Adil, the medical report tells me it's 1 to 2 weeks, so that's not going to be a long problem. I think we'll have the same group to select from on Saturday. And finally, speaking of Saturday, the Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen is conducting a food bank collection for Saturday's game against Norwich City. The collection will run from 1:30pm until kick-off at 3pm. All donations are welcome, especially non-perishable foods with long shelf life, packaged in tins, packets and boxes. So that's things like, Dave, tinned curry and chilli, tinned meatballs, tinned spaghetti, beans, bolognese, pot noodles, pasta in sauce, tinned fruit, tinned custard, all that sort of stuff. The collection area will be located on the corner of the car park opposite the Roker End Cafe. Over the past few years, the initiative has helped raise over £100,000 through the Roker Report appeal, and your support will once again be vital to those within the community who need it most. Any donations are hugely appreciated. And that's your headlines.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast.
Whoa.
The red, the tune, and the cow.
Well, at least Steve was first.
That's better.
Hang on.
Fellas, bear with me. If it wasn't for my transmitters falling down this week, you'd have had them, Ted. You'd have had a full suite of them all, I'm telling you.
Honestly,
I still like the jingle we came up with.
We love you.
I'm so disappointed and hurt. I'm not going to be here all next week.
He's taken the week off. He's had enough. All right, lads, we're into the second hour of the show. Good morning to everyone listening to the North East Brekky Show.
It's only taken us 20 minutes to get into the second hour.
There goes all the headlines for Steve on Monday. It's going to be incredible how we don't get through the headlines again, because we still have to talk Middlesbrough v Stoke. We've covered Sunderland and Norwich. We've obviously covered Newcastle v Wolves as well, but now we get into Middlesbrough v Stoke. And let's talk about how the best team in the world on current form is going to invite Stoke City, Alex Neil's mob, to Saturday afternoon, and Middlesbrough look to record a 7th. That's right, lads. You didn't stutter. 7th. That's right, radio listeners. It didn't break or curse. 7th successive victory in the championship. While the visitors are obviously in Stoke, they'll go to the Riverside Stadium, having turned things around since the international break with 2 wins in a row, which has moved them up to 17th. In the middle of September, obviously, Michael Carrick we'd lost all momentum. We were getting called out by the likes of Alan Shearer, as Michael Carrick was being told that he's not the manager that everyone wants anymore. But we're back, baby. Oh, are we back? Fast forward to 5 or 6 weeks, and Borough are the form team in the division with 7-game period without. So after a 7-game period without success, into a 6-match winning streak. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness! Middlesbrough have been scoring at least 2 goals in 5 of the 6 matches, and we are looking for pretty much the same squad this weekend that we had at Norwich midweek. Obviously, there will be without the diamond in the rough, Hayden Hackney, who has unfortunately now got racked up his 5th yellow. So he'll be banned from versing Stoke. So we're going to be a bit light on in the midfield there. But you would expect Dan Barlaser, who was rested against Norwich, to come in and fill that void. And you would expect probably pretty much the same lineup as we saw Norwich, apart from obviously Hayden Hackney. So incredible that we've still got so many injuries, but we're still being able to be consistent with our squad prediction. I think we're going to be in for a very, very good win here. I'm expecting Middlesbrough to continue on their way, especially at home. I think Stoke gave us a right challenge last season, though. But they had the likes of Rathbone and stuff like that in their midfield. And I think it's going to be a completely different Stoke that we're going to invite down to the Riverside, especially being at home as well. Hayden Hackney's going to be a big loss for us, though. I think it's going to be interesting to see how we go without him in the midfield. I do like how Dan Barlaser works. I like him next to Johnny Howson as well. So I am a bit worried there without the diamond in the rough. And Joshy Coburn as well. You'd think he's obviously 19, but he's been leading the line ever so stoically. But you'd think if Latte Lath is fit, maybe there's a potential there that Latte gets the nod up front as well over Josh, just to give him a bit of a rest, because he has been missing a few chances. Steve, over to you. Middlesbrough v Stoke. We are the most informed team in the world, and I wanted to hear from you, mate. Do you see Middlesbrough being able to continue our winning ways, or is Alex Neil, the demon from both Sunderland and Middlesbrough's era, going to get one over us?
Tough game this for you guys. There's only 4 points between you. Obviously, they had the result against Sunderland. For me, Middlesbrough are in good form. It should be a game for you guys to be able to give us your promotion credentials, if you like. You're at home. You're at the Riverside. Wins against Birmingham, Sunderland, Cardiff, Watford, Bradford. It's a green win at the moment. Stoke, beat Sunderland, of course, but then they had defeats against Leicester. No surprise there. Southampton, who faltered a little bit in recent weeks. So that's not a great result. They beat Bristol City away 3-2, and then obviously in the Carabao Cup there was a 2-0 defeat to Bournemouth. So it's a tough game, this. It really is. It's really down to you guys, which Middlesbrough turns up. And I think the performances that you've put in recent weeks, you've just got to continue that kind of performance. Not sure on your injury situation this weekend, whether you've got a full squad to pick from, or whether you're still whether you've got one or two injuries. But yeah, I mean it's a tough game. Middlesbrough should have enough to beat Stoke, but like I say, Stoke seem to be everybody's banana skin at the moment. The big teams seem to falter against Stoke. But yeah, I think Middlesbrough should have enough in the tank to win this. But it's a big game for you guys.
Ted, over to you. We obviously saw Middlesbrough on an amazing run of form. Obviously, you got to see that firsthand a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to ask, obviously, Alex Neil, the man we do not mention in our conversation or WhatsApp, is a name that's banned from our WhatsApp because obviously when he was at Norwich, he got us in the cup final to get back to the Premier League when he was at Norwich, and he's obviously got a little bit of a relationship there, I believe, with Sunderland, does Alex Neil. Obviously, Stoke are a tough team to break down. They've got, the likes of Wesley up front and a few others in there. Are we going to have a tough time this weekend?
It's a real tough game, to be honest. It's that anti-football versus patient, sort of deliberate football from Carrick. Voldemort has Stoke playing pretty much like sort of ugly football, to be honest. Sorry,
yeah.
You know who I'm referring to when I mention Voldemort.
I do. Yeah, I do.
The money-grabbing little jock, yes. Yeah, I'm not a fan of him at all, but there you go.
Nobody is.
It's a weird one. It's because, to be honest, if you play anywhere near the level that you can do, Stoke got off lightly against us. They beat us, but it was not a convincing win. It was some horrendous refereeing, like I mentioned in that game. And any other time, Stoke would knock. If they didn't get the rub of the green with us, we would have absolutely thrashed them. The anti-football, you're another team that's got a very young squad, right? And they're going to try and get out there and intimidate and bump them. And basically any opportunity to try and get the break, they're going to be pulling shirts, they're going to be players down. So Middlesbrough need to be patient, they need to be calm, they need to have, somebody like Johnny Howson comes into this where it's a calm head and he needs to keep everybody else calm around him. It might be one of those where you wait until the 79th, 80th minute before you look like getting a decent chance against them, or even getting a late goal against them. So it's going to be fans getting behind the team through the whole 90 minutes and staying to the end, because Stoke are going to be very, very difficult to break down, and they're going to batter your players as well. And at the moment, with the injuries that you've got, you can't afford that. So cool heads. And I think you probably be okay, but you're getting to the bare bones of that squad now. I did wonder about Latte Lath as well. I mean, I know you had a bad stomach. Does that mean Latte is lactose intolerant?
It's lattes on almond milk this weekend, I reckon, to keep him fit, because we could use him. We could definitely use him out there. Obviously, we are, like you said, we are suffering most like other Northeast teams, both the other two, obviously with serious injury concerns. Middlesbrough getting down to the bare bones of it all. Dave, are you worried about Stoke? Obviously, the Borough are looking for that next win. We seem to will have the same squad that we had against Norwich without minus Hayden Hackney. It does look like Latte has recovered from that illness on the almonds. Is the Latte Lath? Is Middlesbrough going to get that illustrious next win?
Yeah, the 8th successive, you mean?
Correct.
I'm
yes.
hoping so. I've got a couple of concerns. We are getting a little threadbare now in the squad. Stoke have they're putting a run together now. They had that win over Sunderland, but they followed it up with the defeat of Leeds United in midweek. So that's a decent team for them to beat and pull some confidence from. So I get a feeling it's a different Stoke City that'll be arriving at the Riverside this weekend than what played Sunderland, just because they've had those 2 wins. So their tails are going to be up somewhat. We've got to be on our game, but we've got a good enough squad to beat them. I think. I'll take solace, I'll take comfort in the words of our friendly Mackham saying, they're not as good as as they used to be. And I'm hoping that's the case at the weekend. But I've just got those concerns that they're coming onto a run of form, and we're getting a little down in the squad numbers because of injuries and illness.
It's interesting as well for the Borough because obviously against Birmingham, it took us to the 88th minute to get the goal there. Obviously, Birmingham proving to be a tough nut to crack over the whole sort of defensive way they went about it.
I was good with that.
Yeah.
I just normally I've seen Borough in the past where things haven't gone their way, just effectively fizzle out and give up, but they didn't against Birmingham.
No.
And that effectively last minute of normal time goal was great to see us, continuing to batter their 6-yard box and 18-yard box, and finally it paid off. But you can't talk about confidence in a squad, can you? When you're coming into a game with seven straight victories under your belt. But
the thing for me as well, Dave, is Joshy Coburn. Joshy Coburn could have had Middlesbrough up both times against Birmingham and Norwich by half-time by 2 goals. Do you know what I mean? There was 2 chances at Birmingham where he should have put away.
2 great chances.
There was 2 chances again at Norwich that I think he should have been. There's one where he turned onto his left and where he should have turned onto his right and stuff like that. But I think Joshy Coburn is a big question mark for me this weekend, because if he starts firing, we could be red hot now, because he's getting himself into the right positions, albeit scoring, and he could be putting the Borough up. We obviously only came in the 46th minute against Norwich did we score, but again, Joshy Coburn in the past 2 games could have had us up at halftime. Yeah,
I think the almond milk based latte will be coming into the forward line. I wouldn't be surprised to see Carrick just saying to Josh, young lad, done well, let's give you a bit of a rest now for a couple of games and stick latte out there. But talking of Carrick, there was an interesting one in his press conference where he was asked, have the top 2 places gone? Because Leicester are running away with things. Ipswich is so far ahead as well, even though I suppose they're on the coattails of Leicester. Is it all about the playoffs? And it was an interesting response from Carrick, basically saying, I don't even know where we are in the league table. This is what he had to say. Have a listen.
I don't know where we are in the league, to be honest with you. I've not looked at it. I'm not really interested at this stage. The playoffs are in May, so it's about winning games, accumulating points, as many as you can. We can't control Leicester or the Ipswich or whoever's above us at this moment in time until we play them, really. So it's wasted time and energy, if you like, with what's coming next for me. It's planning ahead, this obviously Tuesday, Saturday, and planning ahead like that. That's what matters. Keep picking up as many points as we can, and then at some stage during the season we can assess where we are.
You can get the full press conference from him on mfc.co.uk. But do you really believe he doesn't know where we are in the league?
Yep, I do. I believe everything he says, and I love him. He's like a warm blanket, that man. I could wrap him around me in front of a cold winter's night. You know what I mean? He's everything.
He's been watching Eddie Howe, man. He's been watching Eddie Howe.
Doesn't worry about the league table. Only worries about the team that we're facing. God, Michael, I tell you, the things that I would love to say to you, Michael, if we were face to face one day, just give you a big Australian hug, mate. But it's incredible. It's incredible to see a manager say that he hasn't looked at the league table. I mean, and he's right. The playoffs aren't until May. We can't control Ipswich. We can't control Leicester. We can only control them when we play them. And, we need to focus on, who we're playing this weekend, because there's no point focusing on, where we're at and until it comes to that sort of nitty gritty. Like Steve has, made it so very perfectly clear that it's a marathon, not a sprint in the championship. It is a long, long season. We're only 13 games into it. And, we've got a long way to go. Anything could happen to Ipswich. Anything could happen to Leicester. You could see a run of injuries. Leeds United up there as well. We've seen Southampton have a shocking start. They're now 5th as well, obviously bouncing back from the Premier League there as well. So anything can happen, and we saw it last season, evidently, with Coventry and us. Coventry were 2nd last. We were 3rd last. Obviously, we got both. We changed managers. Coventry didn't. And then all of a sudden, bang, we're in the playoffs together. So anything can happen in this league, and you can still see the teams in 18th, 19th, 20th still being in the playoffs. It's not over yet because there's so many points up for grabs in such a long season. Yes, Leicester are up far and above in this championship. I think we can agree with that. I think the level of squad they've got in terms of the players and the wages and all that sort of stuff is incredible. When you can turn to Ian Archer off the bench or Jamie Vardy or whatever, it's what a squad depth to have there. But I still think he's absolutely right. And like I said, like a warm blanket with his words, because there's nothing we can do to stop those two now. Obviously, we had a shocking run at the start of the season where we could have had more points, but we don't now. And now we got to get on with it, from where we're at now and just focus on our own backyard. And that backyard is occupied by Stoke this weekend.
I'd just like to make a public service announcement at this moment in time. I'd just like to say this is the North East Footy Breakfast Show with Steve and Ted and Rye, son of Michael Carrick.
That's me.
Because that's what it's sounding like.
Yeah, I love you, Dad, by the way, and thanks for calling me last night.
I've got one for...
Because I do miss you.
I've got one for Steve. I mean, Carrick's a Wallsend boy. Does that make any difference in the eyes of Newcastle fans that that he's a local lad but he's down at Borough? I mean, what sort of an eye do you cast on him? Not interested at all, or he's one of our lot? All right, he's down the road with them, but good to see him doing well.
I don't think he's come into Newcastle United's fans' thoughts, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he was linked with a move to Newcastle as a player back in the day, once or twice when his Manchester United career was winding down, but it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Newcastle fans are too fussed on Michael Carrick, to be fair. Either way, because our paths, apart from on the pitch, against our team, haven't really crossed. But you look at him, you think, well, yeah, he's an up and coming manager. He's learning his craft at Borough, and I think there'll just be a respect for him, and he's certainly somebody who certainly has got lots of connections up here, and his brothers and him have often been out and around in and around Newcastle. It's not somewhere you wouldn't see them, but I think he's got a lot of fans like up and down the country, hasn't he? But the Manchester United connection, I think, with some people is always
that's what comes to the fore.
It's not Middlesbrough. It's more the Manchester United connection that tends to come to the forefront. Yeah.
Mm. Go on then, Ryan. Go on, be professional.
Isn't Graham Carrick the isn't he the under-18s coach at Newcastle? Or is that still?
Yeah, he's involved. Yeah, he's involved.
Yeah, I thought he was.
I haven't looked into the academy. He certainly was involved at the academy, but
I'm pretty confident Graham Carrick, obviously Michael's brother, is the under-18s coach at Newcastle. I remember reading that. Oh, we do have to get some sports headlines. We're late for that. I apologise, Dave. I'm really sorry. I've gone over, and you can put it on me and the whole Warren Blake saga of 2023.
Okay, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Ted, Rye and Steve, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the Northeast, the red, the count and the two.
Any moans and groans yet from Wearside? You were first again, Ted. All right.
Thank you very much.
Changing. How are we meant to keep up with this? What kind of show are we running?
I'm going to have to make about 20 different versions just to keep everybody happy.
You are, definitely. I mean, next week, if I hear one Ted next week when he's having a week by the pool, I tell you, I'm going to be so happy one to hear him, but too upset.
By the pool. Okay. I'm going to be gruff.
Yeah.
It'll just be Rye next week, because where I'm going to be, you'll probably not be able to hear it. But it'll just be the Rye show.
If my wife goes into labour, it's just going to be the old Dave show, I tell you, because I've got a wife that's heavily pregnant as well, so we could be the Northeast Dave show at the moment, the way next week's looking.
Dave and Daz.
It's just going to be the Northeast middle class culinary show, isn't it?
Get the gardening tools out again.
Yeah, love it. Thanks.
Let's talk about as we head into the last couple 20 minutes or so of the show for your absolute fantastic week.
And we've had a WhatsApp
as well.
We've had a WhatsApp.
How good is it? How good is it? We've had a WhatsApp. We don't give the number out enough.
I know, I haven't given it out at all today, so what chance do we stand? The WhatsApp, if you'd like to get your comments through to the boys in the 20 minutes and 30 seconds that remain, is 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. Caroline in Darlington says, you mentioned Messi and Ronaldo. No competition. Messi is better all the way. Been watching football since the 1960s, and he's the best player Stop it. He's the best player I've seen live. Does things with a football nobody else can do. Scores goals for fun, but takes as much pleasure in creating them for his teammates. There you go.
League.
Reads like a recipe, that, doesn't it? Because we do need to talk about it, because Messi is going for his 8th Ballon. Did I get it right? Balloon?
Ballon. It's français.
It's français. Ballon. Okay, let me get in the
Ballon d'Or.
Parlez-vous français? Français. Mais Ballon d'Or. Ballon d'Or. There we go. What? Wow.
Why did Parlez-vous Français come out in like Swahili?
I had to get in the mood. I had to get my French.
You are geographically limited, aren't you?
That's being polite.
Leo Messi is going for his 8th one of the French thing on Monday night, lads, because obviously it does look like he's already won it as well. According to all reports, he's clear favourite to take his 8th home, lads. 8th best player in the world. Obviously, that is the accolade. That is the Ballon d'Or. Messi is also in running for the MLS Newcomer of the Year. Shocked me. I'm not sure what he's going up against there, but 8th Ballon d'Or. Come on, lads. Ronaldo's not even close. Ronaldo's not even close now with this. You can't tell me
He'll be crying.
Messi isn't the best in the world when he's got 8 of Ballon d'Ors.
There'll be lots of tears evaporating in the desert sun, I'm telling you.
It's a joke that honestly, it's a joke that Messi's getting even up for it. Absolute joke. Can I just point out, right? Lionel Messi is about to end the MLS season with 1 league goal and 6 for PSG, and he's about to win a Ballon d'Or. For me, his career outside of Barcelona is a propaganda experiment. I'm not going to be told otherwise. It's an absolute joke that he's even been considered for it.
Tell it as it is.
He's played in a farmers league and a part-timers league where I don't know what the American Football League is made of in terms of players, whether it's ranchers and cattle steers and oil workers. I think that's about it. That's what he's playing against at the minute. It's a joke that he's even up for it.
Here we go.
Well, Steve, Michael Antonio believes it would be a scandal if Lionel Messi beats Erling Haaland to the Ballon d'Or on Monday night. Obviously, being a Premier League expert yourself, would it be a scandal if Erling Haaland does not win the Ballon d'Or?
I mean, he's up there and he's had a great season. Some would say, it's been out of this world. I mean, the amount of goals he scored in a treble-winning team. You've got to fancy him to maybe put a cat amongst the pigeons here, but. Yeah, I mean, this whole Messi-Ronaldo thing, we discussed it a couple of weeks ago on the show. It's just that fact that he didn't really get out of his comfort zone is always the thing that I point at with Messi. I've got no complaints when people say that he scored these goals. He takes pride out of setting goals up for others as much as scoring goals, etc. He's more of a team player, etc. I think it's a debate that'll run and run. There's no right or wrong answer as to who is the best player, but he deserves the plaudits, Messi. He really does. I am a Messi fan. I think he is a great player, and certainly one of the best we've seen in our living lifetime. Does he compare to Pelé, Maradona? I think there's been better over the years than Messi and Ronaldo, but in this generation, in their generation, they were the best of their time. The stats are crazy for both players. We talked the other week about Ronaldo wanting to continue till he hits 1,000 appearances. Every player, every era has its players, and these two have been very special. Haaland, I think really for Haaland, he's young, he's got plenty of time to go on and achieve what he wants to achieve. Does he deserve to win the Ballon d'Or when you've just had one season, you've scored lots of goals, you've won the treble? Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't win it now, when is he going to win it? He's going to struggle to do that kind of thing again. It's not easy to win the treble, and not many people, repeat that incident. I think that's the one thing that judges could look at. So it will be interesting to see if Messi is a shoo-in. I think as well, the fact he's won it so many times, maybe it would be nice to have a new name on the trophy. So yeah. I will watch it with interest, but the debate about Messi and Ronaldo, it runs and runs and runs, lads.
Certainly does, and we saw a photo of actually Haaland midweek as well, lads. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but he had his hair out. It's obviously normally timed up, but he let it out in full flow. He had his Man City jacket on, only zipped up halfway. He is
really
young
paying
Fabio.
attention to this, I see, right, as usual.
His hair is fantastic. It is like a lion's mane.
You're not cheating on Michael Carrick here, are you?
No, I appreciate a good, a nice hair do when I see one. And Erling Haaland, when he had it full flowing in the wind, it was Fabio like that, the Erling Haaland. So if you don't win the Ballon d'Or, Erling, then you've got a fantastic hairdresser. And I credit to them.
Imagine him with Carrick's beard.
Oh, don't even. I'm still trying to shape mine.
The cardi under the jacket, that was only half zipped up. Yeah.
It was good. But we'll be interesting. I'm actually interested to see who does win it. I will be interested to see if Messi can bring his 8th in, or if Haaland does pip him. I think Haaland is going to win one eventually. I just think Messi's going to be in there. But it's crazy just to see Ronaldo's probably not even in the mention or the running since going to Saudi. And it does look like that Saudi league is destined to fail. Lads, we saw another couple of midweek games there where it was a extra low crowd in 596 fans at one of their games in the Saudi League. So incredible struggles there for fans in ground. So interesting stuff. Lads, before we get into predictions, I just want to touch on the Wayne Rooney story as well, because it's one that I'm absolutely loving. Wayne Rooney is now not only copying it from the fan base. Obviously, he was told to F off back to America by his fan base as he was walking down the tunnel after they lost to Hull City. But Cody Drammer, who is their under-21 defender, has admitted some players cannot play the way he wants. Now, Wayne Rooney has said it as well. Wayne Rooney said that he's obviously clear now that some players cannot play the way he wants as well. So it's coming from both sides. So it's more of like a mutual agreement here. I won't throw him under the bus, because Cody has sort of agreed here with Wayne, because Wayne said, look, the way I want to play is not the way Birmingham players have overplayed before, and some of them are not up for it. So, lads, Dave predicted it very early on that Wayne's not going to have any success here. He's going to just go down the gurgler. The man in a hat.
Before Christmas, I'm telling you, before Christmas.
The new Tony Pulis, he's never seen without a hat, is Wayne Rooney. Ted, obviously championship expert just like me. Wayne Rooney, is he going to get the sack before Christmas? Is it fair to judge him after 2 games, because he's getting smashed?
I've got to disagree with Radio Dad on this one. I think Birmingham actually have to stick with him. This excuse now, we're talking about it. I got very irate at the beginning of the show. I don't buy that. The players actually saying, oh, well, we can't play the way he's asking us to. You're professional footballers. It is an absolute privilege to be paid that level of money to do that kind of job. If I turned around to my gaffer and said, oh, I'm sorry, gaffer, I can't do it the way you want, she'd go, all right, fair enough. Off you go, and I'll find somebody else who can do it. And that's the way this is going to be looked at. Literally, it's a change of system, or it's, I don't exactly know what Rooney's looking for, whether he's looking for like a high pressing team or anything like that, because the high press, absolutely, that takes much bigger fitness levels than what any other kind does. But to use that as an excuse and say we can't play the way he wants us to, sorry, but you shouldn't be even in the game if that's your excuse. It's that's appalling for me. That I'll be pulling that player in for a word without a doubt. I've played for pub teams that have been able to adapt to a new system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's how many beers you have.
Well, that's also very true. Anybody who saw Billingham Station play back in those 15 years ago would say, one thing about that was we definitely wouldn't have passed any alcohol tests. That's for sure. But even then, playing 4-4-2 in pub football, and like sort of having a gaffer who came in and went, right lads, let's have a laugh, let's go and play 4-3-3. Total shock to the system for us, because it's like, oh, this is a bit foreign and a bit exciting, but we did it. Now, if we could do that, if we could overweight apes that we were on the pitch on a Sunday league, a professional footballer should be able to conform to what his manager wants and go, right, even if I'm going to be crap at it, I'm gonna give it the absolute everything I've got, because the new manager, he's going to decide whether I'm going to be in the first team or not.
We do actually agree.
After 2 games. Yeah, I mean, this is ludicrous. Games, I've never known anything like I've never known anything like this. But Birmingham's got a history of just self-imploding. Whether it's the fan base, or whether it's the team, or whether it's the directors or whatever. I mean,
the owner cast in young, didn't he? I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mentioned Clarkey on there. Poor Clarkey went down there full of good intentions. His stock was really high after what he'd done at Huddersfield, beating Cloughey's record and all that, and then goes to Birmingham, and within a couple of weeks, he's the owner's in prison. He's got to sell all his best players, and he's up the creek without the proverbial paddle. But Birmingham. it's a strange. They're a strange bunch down there, and I think this is a disgrace. I completely agree with Ted on that. I think players get paid to play football, not to run their mouths off when the things aren't going right in the dressing room. It's not Dream Team, for God's sake. It's like a soap opera.
Ted and I actually do agree. I'd just like to make one quick point. We do agree that it's wrong for the players to come out, and particularly such a young player to come out and publicly speak about it. I mean,
he's on loan from Leeds. That's the thing as well.
I mean, that's what baffles me.
Just an interest. He's a loan player at Birmingham from Leeds. And I'll just before I want to hear what you have to say, Dave. But I'll just finish off what he did say. So he obviously said that some players are just not going to be able to play the way Wayne Roonts. But it's going to then he said it is going just to take a little getting used to. It will take some time, but I think we will get there eventually. But we just have to roll with it, because whoever comes in and works with us, which I mean that statement there, whoever comes in and works with us, we have to do the best we can to try and keep improving. And the players we've got, they'll be here. We can do it. I mean, two things in there. Whoever comes in and works with us, and the players we've got, they'll be there.
They'll be there.
We can do that.
Then that's my point.
There's two things in there that I take away from that, Dave, and go, oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, that's my point. My point is, if you lose the players, it doesn't matter whether it's this early for Rooney, which is a crisis, or whether it's after 3 years in the job. If you lose the players, there's only one end result for a manager. Because you've got 25 of those, hanging around your dressing room as first-team players. It is so difficult, once you've lost them, to see success from those players on the pitch. So I can only see one end result in this. It might take some time. I might be wrong by saying he'll be out by Christmas, but I can't see him being here next season.
Well, we love you, Wayne. If you want to get it on the WhatsApp and need a job, mate, Ted's away for next week. You can have that for a week. But then we want Ted back, all right?
I don't think he's particularly fond of Sunderland fans, mate.
You can come on the Northeast Breakfast Show for a week. In fact, it could be just you on this radio next week, because all three of us might be tied up. But we'll see how we go. Lads, let's get into the predictions, as we've got last little few minutes before 9 a.m. here on the Northeast Breakfast Show. We've got to get at the predictions for the
and
lads.
Brian Ferry,
for all games.
And
we've got Brian Ferry as well. We've got Brian Ferry as well. Let's start where we started off today's show with Sunderland. Sunderland taking on Norwich at home at the Stadium of Light. I'll start with you, Ted, because it is your beloved club. Give us a prediction, give us a scoreline, give us your goal scorers, and give us your absolute spot-on Messiah things.
Well, I think we are going to turn it around this weekend. A much improved performance against Leicester. We've got the best goalkeeper in the Championship by a country mile. I think we're going to keep a clean sheet. I think we're going to win 2-0. We're going to send Borough back down to where they belong, which is in the lower reaches. They'll all cry into their palmos, and we'll all have a great weekend. How's about that? You want scorers as well.
I do.
Paddy Roberts from about 50 yards out. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go for a Paddy Roberts double. I think he's going to get to. I think he'll have a little mazy run. He's going to score one from the banks of the Weir as well.
Wow, interesting.
He's been smoking something, hasn't he?
I'm confident. Honestly, I'm confident, and I will be leaving a WhatsApp message. I'll be leaving a voice message for the show on Monday, and I'll be crowing from the rooftops, mate. You'll be back down there.
I'm unfortunately going for a Sunderland win as well. I obviously saw Norwich midweek.
He loves us.
Hand.
We're in his head.
And I'm going for a late win. I'm going for a late win here. I reckon it's going to be 2-1 to Sunderland. I reckon it's going to be an entertaining clash, but both teams obviously wanting to get themselves back into the playoffs. And I think Sunderland will do that simply because they're at the Stadium of Light. And I think, I think Sunderland will get a late goal. It'll be 2-1 to Sunderland. Steve, how do you think this is going to play out? Are we just making sense here that Sunderland are going to win, or is Norwich just going to win 4-0 and we're all silly?
Nah, I think it's. I'm going to go for draws or cross the line, mate. Today, lads, I'm going for a draw for Sunderland Norwich 1-1. I'm going for a draw for Newcastle 1-1. I'm going draw for Borough 1-1.
Whoa, Ooh. Steve!
I did look at that. I did look at that, but I couldn't reveal it on air. But I did look at that.
So you thought the same, Dave?
Yeah, but I'm going to change my mind.
All right. Okay.
All right. Well, let's go around and get the Middlesbrough predictions. Obviously, Middlesbrough at home to Stoke on the same time, Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Lads, I am going for a Middlesbrough 2-0 victory here. I think we are just so good in form. We are so right and ready. I think we're going to get 2 goals. I worry about where the goals are going to come from, and that's why I'm not going for a bigger scoreline. But I think we still got it in us to get a good win here, especially at home in a packed Riverside Stadium against Alex Neil, aka Voldemort. I think we're going to absolutely send this. This tracksuit Voldemort of a man back down to Stoke with a loss, and Middlesbrough are going to get their 8th successive win, and oh my goodness, is it going to be party time at the Riverside. Steve, you've gone for a 1-1. Ted, how are you seeing the Borough v Stoke?
First of all, packed Riverside Stadium. Are the fans confused? I think it's red and white, so they think they're going to see Sunderland. Packed stadium. Oh, weird.
It'll be overflowing. It'll be
you couldn't pack your
standing in
lunch.
Sunderland trying to watch the best team in the world, mate.
Might be the best team on Teesside, but that's about it. I think the winning streak is going to come to a close. I don't think you're going to get beat. I don't think Stoke have got enough to beat you. I'll be honest, but I think they are going to rough you up. I think they're a big threat from set pieces. I'm going to go for a score draw. I'm going to go 1s each.
Oh. All right, okay. You and Steve, I tell you, what's going on here? We're colluding behind the scenes here. All right, and we'll finish off, obviously, Newcastle v Wolves. Steve, you've obviously already predicted a 1-1. I just want to hear how you think the game's going to play out. Obviously, there, I'm actually going for a 1-1 draw there as well. Actually, I just think Wolves are in a run of form that's not to be denied at the moment. I just think they've got some goals in there. And I think obviously with the injuries that you've had, it's taken a bit of a hit without Isak as well. I think Callum Wilson's going to score for you, but I just think, and look, it depends if Wolves can get on top of Gordon. Gordon's always the danger man. I always say if Gordon has a fantastic game, then Wolves have got no chance because he literally is at the moment can pick up a whole team, Ken Gordon, and put him on his back and say, "Come with me, lads, I'll get you through it." So, I'm scarily putting it a 1-1 draw, but I think if Gordon's got it having a day out, then Wolves are in for a bit of a trouble here. But 1-1 draw for me. Steve, you've obviously 1-1. Is it going to be entertaining to say at least?
No. It's going to be like watching paint dry.
Gotcha. Thank you. Excellent. Love it. Love it. That's great. All right, so we won't be tuning into the Newcastle game. Ted, Newcastle v Wolves. Predictions, scorers, what colour paint?
I think it's definitely going to be beige paint all the way.
Beige? Yep. Gotcha.
There's no puce or morning sunrise here. It's going to be beige all the way. I know far too much about colour schemes. Anyway, right. I don't know where that come from. I'm really sorry.
Years watching Tony Hart and Vision on.
That's it. Tony and Morph. That's it.
It's thinking of the coloured walls in the middle class radio dad's lounge now, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yes, yeah.
It's Antique Burgundy, I believe.
And by the way, lads, I'd just like to thank you for not asking me for any of my predictions. Yeah, go on, get on with it.
Oh, that's me being rude. I'm sorry, Dave. We'll get
very quickly then.
You said you copied me.
He did say he copied you.
But I changed my mind. That was my last word.
Oh, that's all right.
Hey, we haven't got time. We need to get Ferry on. We're only getting about 30 seconds, everyone. Get on with it.
Very quickly then, I think Newcastle might come unstuck. I think the injuries are going to be too much. I think a Wolves 1-0 win.
Oh, that sounds like wet paint to me, Dave.
Well, I did think 1-1's throughout. I've got to change my mind. Sunderland 1-0 Norwich, 1-1 Wolves Newcastle, 2-1 Borough Stoke.
Oh, I love it.
When we're out of time, I'm going for a win for all three teams this weekend. I'm feeling positive.
Oh, does he?
There you go.
I love it.
Good lad, Daz.
I love it.
There we go.
Hope you're all right.
Can we have Ferry now?
Fantastic week, lads. Fantastic week.
You had some of Dave's Beaujolais Nouveau.
Take care, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.
See you later, lads. Thanks for this week.
We'll be back. Have a great week, guys.
Cheers, boys.
Up the Borough.
Take it easy.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the